with dismay.
I'd be saddened if we ever turn down that road, and I certainly hope it never happens in my lifetime.
Whatever the future holds for Australia, its historical links with Britain will remain strong. The men and women honoured here fought for king or queen and country, and for them those ties may be hard to break. Jenny Bond, BBC News, Canberra.
There's been a major reshuffle in the French government, with the Socialist Prime Minister Lionel Jospin announcing his third finance minister in 6 months. The new man is Laurent Fabius, the former Prime Minister, who was prosecuted over a blood contamination scandal in the 1980s.
They talk in France of the Jospin method, cool pragmatism and calm reassurance. But this reshuffle has been forced on a Prime Minister who's begun to look increasingly shaky.
Il continuera la politique de réforme.
The government will maintain its reform policy, which is based on socialist values and is in the country's interests. We will keep as our main priority employment and growth, as well as social justice.
At this demonstration last Friday, teachers demanded the head of the education minister. Today he was sacked. The government's attempt to reform the tax system have been shelved. Ditto pension reform. And it's not so much new blood that's been brought in, but Laurent Fabius, the survivor of the contaminated blood scandal. The former Prime Minister was prosecuted over AIDS-infected blood being given to haemophiliacs. But whatever other problems Mr. Jospin faces, the economy is doing very nicely. This shipyard is the one that beat Harland and Wolff in Belfast to build the new superliner for Cunard. In France, unemployment is falling, growth is forecast at close to 4% for this year, and inflation is low.
You know, the French economy is doing pretty well, and it will continue next year. And we have good sectoral news like the order as regards the shipyard in Saint-Nazaire.
France now appears to be something of a two-speed country, with an unreconstructed public sector, which is tonight celebrating having seen off Mr. Jospin's attempts at reform, and the private sector, which is powering the French economy forward. If Mr. Jospin is to win the presidency in 2 years' time, as he hopes, it seems he will be pinning his hopes solely on economic performance. John Sopel, BBC News, at the Prime Minister's residence in Paris.
Ministers from the oil producers organisation OPEC have gathered in Vienna for what's been described as their most important meeting in years. Oil prices have soared since the organisation decided to cut output a year ago, reviving memories of the oil producers' potential to plunge the world into recession.
In the Cotswold village of Castle Combe, motorists can't quite believe how much it costs to fill up. First rising taxes, then the soaring oil price have made things hard for rural drivers.
I think it's hurting the elderly people and people on a restricted income.
There just isn't the public transport, so you're being penalised for getting to work, basically.
Relief could come from Vienna, where OPEC members are tonight considering pumping more oil. They're under pressure from the United States to push the price lower. The oil exporters have made their customers take notice. They first showed their teeth in the 70s. Since then, only the Gulf War has pushed oil much above $30 a barrel, until OPEC agreed to cut production last year with dramatic effect. Meanwhile, the price at British pumps has risen from 35 pence to over $3.60 a gallon, mostly because of higher tax. But the 70s showed that a sudden rise in crude oil prices can have a devastating impact on the wider economy. Some fear history could repeat itself.
I expect a recession to happen simply because the oil price is so important to moulding lots of other prices in the economy. We use more energy than we ever used to.
But on London's rowdy petroleum exchange, prices fell back today. There was a belief that OPEC would see the need to reduce the pressure on the world economy. Once again, the price of oil has become a hot political issue. OPEC members have remembered that when they act together, they can make a real impact. But this time they're being more cautious about how they use that power. Rory Kathleen-Jones, BBC News at the International Petroleum Exchange.
The rock singer Ian Dury has died of cancer. He was 57. He rose to fame in the late 1970s, recording a series of hits with his band, The Blockheads. Despite his illness, he'd continued to work, appearing in television advertisements and helping children's aid organisations. The British film industry is celebrating after a night of success at this year's Oscars. Sam Mendes was named Best Director for his debut movie, American Beauty, which also won the award for Best Film. Michael Caine won Best Supporting Actor for his role in Cider House Rules, and the Mike Leigh film Topsy Turvy was also honoured. Our correspondent Nick Hyam reports from Hollywood.
The Oscars have become almost as famous for fashion as for films. This year's star-studded catwalk parade included some stunning creations and a few who took the fashion show less seriously. Inside, a triumphant night for American Beauty.
And the Oscar goes to Sam Mendes for American Beauty.
Steven Spielberg's studio DreamWorks made the film, and Spielberg presented Britain's Sam Mendes with his Oscar. Hollywood's most successful director, welcoming one of its newest to the fold.
Hi, I'm Lester, Jamie's dad.
Oh, hi.
A dark satire on suburban life, American Beauty won 5 Oscars. Kevin Spacey, Best Actor.
Okay.
And Best Film among them. Astonishingly, it's Sam Mendes' first film. The Oscars are a long way from his day job running London's tiny Donmar Theatre, but that wasn't forgotten in the traditional litany of thanks.
To all the people who work at and have worked at the Donmar Warehouse Theatre in London, to all my friends at home watching in my flat in Primrose Hill, have a drink for me.
Doubtless you will let me know what immensely worthwhile, or at least useful thing that it is you find to do.
There were 2 Oscars for the Cider House Rules, a sentimental film despite controversial themes like abortion and incest. Michael Caine's Oscar was his second. He paid generous tribute to his fellow supporting actor nominees, including Tom Cruise.
If ever there was a category where the Oscar goes to someone without there being a winner, it's this one, because I do not feel like being the winner.
Phil Collins won the Oscar for Best Song for the Disney film Tarzan. Then Hollywood parted into the night with yet more tributes to American Beauty and its first-time director.
Without Sam, he carved this performance every day, and he shaped it, and he helped me, and he pushed me, and he nurtured me, and he encouraged me, and he challenged me every day.
One theory is that the rather subversive American Beauty did well because Hollywood's more ready to applaud and to make films that are quirky, challenging and complex. Or it may just be that its producers worked harder and spent more to promote it to the 5,000 Oscar voters. Nick Hyam, BBC News, Hollywood.
And the main news tonight, UN sanctions against Iraq have been condemned by the UN's top official there. He called it Iraq's humanitarian tragedy. The next news from the BBC is at 10 o'clock on BBC News 24. Good night.
Who's going to be running Britain's nuclear bomb factory, and can we trust them? Panorama investigates on BBC One in half an hour.
The main stories in the southeast. Good evening to you. A government minister tonight described the gap between London's rich and poor as a national shame. The divide is greater now than at any time since World War II. Social Security Minister Hugh Bailey was responding to a special report on Newsroom Southeast. The programme is spending a week with the Hatton family in Woolwich, the capital's poorest postcode. London is the wealthiest region of Europe, yet a third of its people live below the poverty line. The minister denied that government policies were failing the poor.
When we came to power 3 years ago, there were 4.5 million children living below the poverty line. By the end of this parliament, we'll have got it down by about 1.2 million to a bit above 3 million. There's still a long, long way to go.
The Social Security Minister. Campaigners against grammar schools in Kent have admitted defeat for now. Stop the 11+ campaigners have not collected enough signatures on a petition which would have allowed parents to vote on the future of the county's selective schools. They say they'll try again.
OK, well, what we're going to do...
The Simon Langton School in Canterbury is safe, at least for the time being. As one of Kent's 33 grammar schools, its future would have been under threat if the Stop the 11+ campaign had succeeded in winning a ballot. The campaigners needed 46,000 signatures, They only got 7,000.
Nowhere in history has a procedure such as this been suggested. We have to collect 46,000, not just signatures, but actually a 9-box piece of information for parents to fill in.
The defenders of Kent's grammar school system say the campaigners should now give up for good.
We can't go on year after year after year with this hanging over our heads. They've had their chance. They've not really gathered very much support at all. Let's call it a day and let's move on.
Kent's grammar schools can breathe a sigh of relief for the moment, but their enemies are promising to launch another petition for a ballot this September. Paul Curran, Newsroom South East in Kent.
Police are increasingly concerned about a mother of 3 who vanished from North London 7 weeks ago. Since Lisa McCormack was last seen in North Finchley, she's made no contact with her young sons, nor withdrawn any money from her bank. Police are investigating the theft of a blue car from outside her home. It was found with a muddy shovel in the boot. The BBC's new radio station for the capital, London Live 94.9, launched today. Morning presenter Robert Elms hosted his 3-hour show live from the London Eye. The new station replaces GLR with a mix of news, sport and entertainment.
I hope people now can actually hear for themselves what it's all about, that it actually is not abandoning all the great traditions of the previous service, so we actually have got music, but we've got great chat, great news, great travel, and as with this, great views of London.
David Roby. We're back in Breakfast News with regular travel and weather updates. For now, from all of us here, a very good night.
Hello, good evening. There was some pleasant spring weather in western parts today. There was 11 hours of sunshine here on the island of Anglesey, a top temperature of 12 degrees here in St Angelo in County Fermanagh, but it was a different story along the east coast, a top temperature of just 6 or 7 degrees with the winds coming in off a cold North Sea. Now we're going to maintain that cold northeasterly wind throughout tonight and tomorrow across many parts of England and Wales. If anything, it's going to pick up and it's really going to feel raw. Further north though, across Scotland and Northern Ireland, there'll be lighter winds circulating around this area of high pressure, which is going to drift a little bit further south in the next 36 hours. And that means that for many places, the showers will be much fewer and further between than they have been through today. Having said that, towards the south, there'll always be some weather fronts close by, which will bring more in the way of cloud and some showers too. Now there were certainly some heavy showers around this afternoon, but you'll notice in the last couple of hours they've really started to fizzle out, and in many western and central areas those showers will continue to fizzle out through the rest of the night. But in eastern and central England, thicker cloud will move in with some showery bursts of rain. It's also going to be quite cloudy and damp in the Northern Isles of Scotland. But across the rest of Scotland, along with Northern Ireland, it'll turn cold and frosty. We could also see a touch of frost in parts of West Wales and southwest England. But it'll be a dry and sunny, if a chilly start to the day in northwestern areas. Always more cloud further south with some showery bursts of rain pushing away through the morning to allow the skies to brighten, but just for a time before thicker cloud comes in from the southeast to bring some rain here late in the day. And as I said before, it is going to feel cold, particularly in eastern and southern areas with a top temperature of 7 or 8 degrees, but further towards the west we should see a high of 10 or 11. Now the high pressure is still around in northern areas on Wednesday. That means it'll be dry and fine in many spots, but further south it'll be cloudy, it'll be damp, it'll be cold and it'll be windy. That's the forecast. Bye-bye.